Hello and welcome. You're watching this NDTV special broadcast with me and Sanket Upadhyay, when we and possibly several other news channels at this point are going to be breaking away from our coverage of the public health emergency India is in the middle of to look at the exit polls. That's right. I mean, people may have forgotten this, but actually an election, a long drawn out, painfully prolonged election has just come to an end today in West Bengal, and a whole bunch of other states have already voted several weeks ago. Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam and Puducherry, and the exit polls for those states are going to come out. But because we're in the middle of this pandemic, this is not going to be a business as usual exit poll show, because we can't tear our eyes away from the fact that the election campaign and the electioneering may have actually exacerbated the spread of the virus. In fact, in West Bengal, candidates have actually died during the course of the campaign. But anyway, the way this is going to work, as always, is that we will not be doing our own exit poll, but we are doing, Sanket, a poll of exit polls. That is, we will average out all the various exit polls that the channels are doing. So we are a one-stop shop. You can, of course, if you want, go to the individual channels, or you can come to us, where you will get an average of what all the different pollsters are saying.
Absolutely.
Now,
and a comprehensive picture, Vasu. I mean, a clear picture of what each of those pollsters are saying, who are sticking their neck out, who are not sticking their neck out. But most importantly, as Vasu said, we must remember that this is an election in the middle of a pandemic. And as the Madras High Court said, perhaps the reason for this second wave could also possibly be these elections. Remember, a 33-day long affair in West Bengal, 8 phases, unheard of. This is happening for the first time as far as a state assembly election is concerned, to have 8 phases spread over 33 days.
Right.
But anyway, that phase is now over. Curtains on that election, and also curtains, Vasu, sadly, on many of the candidates who are in the fray.
That's right. In a way, Sanket, the elections, the stakes for these elections were always high, particularly West Bengal. But the pandemic appears to have raised the stakes even higher, especially for the BJP, given the fact that there is so much heat on the government for not responding adequately to the virus. It will be interesting to see how the outcome impacts all of that. It's important at this point for the government to have that win in their hand, much like after demonetization, the backlash they won Uttar Pradesh. Is that going to happen again in West Bengal? So in a sense, the stakes have ramped up even further. But of course, we'll have to wait and see what the exit pollsters come up with. Sanket, we already have a panel with us.
Yes.
So if you'd like to...
Sure. We've got Mr. N. Ram, Director of the Hindu Publishing Group. Mr. Naresh Arora, Co-founder and Director of Design Boxed, is with us. Mr. PKD Nambiar, Political Analyst, supports the BJP. Mr. Nambiar, you should actually join the BJP now. It's very difficult for me to say political analyst where I clearly know what your viewpoint is. But thank you so much.
And also Sanket, we must request Naresh Arora also to join the Congress, because he's here as a Congress strategist. And in fact, we should add in the introduction that Naresh has been in the back room for many Congress campaigns, but most notably in the recent Assam campaign, where it'll be interesting to see, is the Congress and its Mahajot they're going to pull off some kind of a surprise. But anyway, sorry, go ahead, Sanket.
Mr. Ram, let me begin with you. Good evening. Lots of these states, 1/5 of India's population, 1/5 of the country voted. Many people say that this is not just going to be, verdict or judgment day politically, but will also be a referendum, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. Would you attach that much significance to these results, or would you say that these are, as the IPL seems to be on a totally different planet, by that same logic, elections and the result of the elections are also on a different planet, nothing to do with India?
Elections, IPL, well, Kumbh Mela has a lot to do with India, but that's the other factor that adds, there's a super spreader by all accounts. But anyway, yes, I think this is going to be very significant. I wouldn't hype it up to say that, this is it, whoever wins. I have a pretty good idea of who's going to win in most places. And let's see if these expectations are reflected in the findings of the exit polls. But Yes, I
Ram,
think they're very, very significant, and a lot is at stake for the BJP, and particularly for the two top people in the central government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, the duo, as they are often represented by journalists as well as comedians.
Mr. Ram, you say you already know who's going to win. Let's have your quick forecast, and before we actually start getting the exit polls, because after that, anything you say will be cheating. So,
Yeah.
So quickly tell us, because I think we've already started getting some first numbers. Go ahead, sir.
Big win for the DMK and DMK-led alliance.
Yes.
Decisive win for the LDF in Kerala.
Right.
A very decisive win for TMC in West Bengal.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Assam too close to call.
I see. All right. Okay.
Why leave out Puducherry, Mr. Ram? Go ahead and...
Puducherry may produce a hung assembly. With Mr. Rangasami's group, the NDA in the lead, but short of a majority.
I think this is pretty close to the opinion polls, Vasu. Most of the opinion polls were pretty much along these lines.
All right. Okay, Sanket, we actually have started to get the first batch of exit poll numbers for Assam, and they are right now reflecting on our internal, page, and it will hopefully pop up on screen. But essentially, the poll of exit polls in Assam, we have 3 polls in, is saying BJP plus 75, Congress plus, that is the BJP and its allies 75, Congress and its allies 50. So at the moment,
that's not good news for the Mahajot.
Yeah, at the moment it is saying that it is the NDA which is coming back to power in Assam with a reduced number, because of course, remember last time they got 86, this time it's down to 75. But it is the NDA, and I'll just quickly run through which are these polls. We have the India Today Axis My India poll, we have Republic TV CNX, and we have something called P Mark. I'm not quite sure what that is, but India Today Axis My India is saying, Sanket, BJP, that is NDA, 75 to 85, Congress 45 to 50.
Yes, I think this is very significant, and those numbers are there on the screen right now. As you can see, most of the numbers, some numbers from West Bengal also now coming in. Let's talk about that also, because West Bengal is a crucial state. We'll put out those numbers in just a short moment. But
West Bengal, I'll tell you, Sanket, West Bengal is already out. We have, I'm only now trying to refer to the more sort of well-known polls, because you have a lot of pollsters that are, coming in, perhaps not all of them well-known, but the poll of polls at the moment is saying that the TMC is 149. The TMC is 149, the BJP is 116.
Yes, those numbers are now out,
TMC
as you can see on the screen
BJP
right now of West Bengal, where the Republic TV poll gives a clear lead to the Trinamool Congress, nowhere close to, the Republic TV gives a lead to the BJP. It gives a lead to the BJP. Even the P-Mark poll, you can see it's, in fact, in most of these polls, Bengal seems to be too close to call, where it's neck and neck between the BJP and the Trinamool Congress. Yeah. I would say, Vasu, that they're not sticking their neck out, the pollsters.
Yes, that's right. Well, I tell you, because I'm not quite sure. There are a couple of polling agencies here that are getting added to the average, Sanket, which we're not quite sure of, something called ETG Research and something called PMark.
Yes.
But ABP News C Voter is calling it for the Trinamool. It's saying it's 152 to 164 for the Trinamool and 109 to 121 for the BJP. Republic TV CNX is keeping it very tight, but with an edge to the BJP. BJP 138 to 148 and TMC 128 to 138. So this is where we are with West Bengal.
Okay, let's quickly get in Sagarika
Assam
at this moment. Sagarika, these initial trends, any comments? I mean, Mr. Ram did mention that West Bengal will go to the TMC, Kerala to the left, Tamil Nadu to the DMK, Assam too close to call, as we can see in these initial trends of the exit polls, and Puducherry being a hung assembly. Your assessment?
Yes, I go along with Mr. Ram, except I disagree that Bengal is going to be a decisive win for the TMC. I was traveling there for close to 3 weeks, and I think it's going to be what we Bengalis call hadda haddi lorai. It's a really close dead heat. In any case, whatever happens, Sanket and Vasu, I think. I think if you look at the BJP in Bengal, I mean, the BJP in Bengal was 0 in 2011. Yeah. It was 3 seats in 2016. It's now a contender for power in Bengal. I mean, these are dramatic results. Whether the BJP wins or loses the election,
correct.
The fact that the BJP is in contention, it's the second party in Bengal. I think that is in itself very revealing.
Yes.
I think the C voter, as you said, is that the Yashwant
yes.
Deshmukh?
Yes, Mr. Deshmukh C voter.
Yes.
I think he's the one that is giving an edge to the TMC. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, that is correct.
Whereas the other poll is giving an edge to the BJP. So I think it's evenly split. I would say Bengal is much more evenly divided, a much more fractured. A verdict, I think, is going to be Bengal. I think Assam is bad news for the Congress, actually, because if the Congress can't even win Assam and it's being swept out by the LDF in Kerala, then the Congress really is once again reinforcing its image as a party that can't win elections.
Right.
And I hate to say this. I know I'm always attacked on social media because of this, but questions have to be raised then about. Mr. Rahul Gandhi's
don't worry about social media.
Abilities.
Okay,
don't worry about social media. They can have the mind of their own.
But I know, but
these things have to be said.
On social media, but it can't win elections.
All right, hold on a second, because we have another update. We're getting some numbers from Kerala, and at least 2 polls are in for Kerala, and the poll of polls is giving it to the LDF, but with a closer margin this time. It's 76 to the LDF and 62 for the Congress. So the LDF has come down from 91 to 76, but they are still just about the halfway mark of 71. So, if this is true, then it could be Pinarayi Vijayan again. But let me just ask Kakoli Ghosh Dasitar that, Kakoli Ghosh, as Sagarika was saying, that regardless of the outcome, the fact that the BJP has managed to make itself such a significant contender in West Bengal, would you somewhere concede that that was also because of a lot of anger against the Trinamool government, something that all of us who travelled in West Bengal would hear?
First, let me tell you that we are having a sure win with more than 180 seats. And secondly, we have not felt the anger. It was the fake news factory of the Bharatiya Janata Party who churned out these information social media posts saying that there is anger, but there was no anger actually, and the amount of development that has come about in the last 10 years due to the Mamata Banerjee government effort to reach out to the people who were actually living in a lot of misery in the 35 years of left misrule. This will be appreciated by the people, and the vote has really been in favor of our party.
No, Ms. Dastidar, can I ask you an honest question? What is your party's assessment of the BJP's performance? And my next question will follow.
If a party's only agenda is division on religious grounds and on a lot of money being spent on the ground
Ms. Ghosh,
level,
I only want to know the TMC's internal assessment of how much is the... Will you or will you not admit that the BJP has performed...
Less than 100. They will be less than 100.
Even if you say that they will be less than 100, will you agree with Sagarika Ghosh? Even by your own admission, you say they'll be less than 100. Imagine from 0 to 3 to less than 100. Do you feel that they've been able to perhaps capture some sentiment or some mood in West Bengal which remained untapped?
let the results be out. You will see it is only on religious polarization and fake news, not on any developmental agenda.
Okay.
Politics is not based on fake news.
Okay,
So
just another
if a party
update.
has a lot of money to spare,
Okay, you're
then
saying it's
they
just
will
fake news.
definitely make attempt.
Okay, you're saying it's fake news. Some may contest that. Just another quick updates there, Sanket. So now we have the first polls coming in from Tamil Nadu, the exit polls. So there are two polls which have come out again, Republic TV, CNX and PMark, and it is giving it at the moment to the DMK. The DMK sweeping with 171, the DMK alliance, of course, the UPA in that sense, DMK Congress alliance, and the ADMK alliance only at 58, Sanket. So that's Tamil Nadu. And also we have now one more poll from West Bengal, which is Times Now C Voter. Remember, C Voter is polling both for ABP News and for Times Now.
Yeah.
And they are saying that TMC is 158 and BJP is 150.
Yeah, that's basically the same poll. It's basically the same poll. In one poll, they've given a margin, and in the other, they're a bit more specific. But
which is something one can't quite understand how that works. How it is the same poll and gives slightly different numbers, but you know, that's the world of polling for you.
Yeah, very quickly, Mr. Arora, that question that Sagarika asked, that even amid, you know, this so-called anti-incumbency or it's the party's own performance, the Congress was not able to deliver, if we believe these exit polls to be true, Mr. Arora, the Congress party has failed to deliver Kerala, which is now the home state of Rahul Gandhi. It has failed to click in West Bengal as part of your alliance and failed to work its magic in Assam. Where does that leave the Congress?
First of all, Sanket, I cannot speak on behalf of the Congress party because no matter how much Vasu is forcing me to join Congress party, I still remain as an independent agency.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
Secondly, exit polls, because I was myself involved in the campaign, so I am not going to comment on them as far as Assam is concerned till 2nd of May when the results are out. We'll definitely be talking about it again. But I can surely say one thing, that as far as Assam is concerned, because I was deeply involved there and I spent a lot of time over there, once the results are out, you will have something different to talk about. And even before the results, if you speak to anyone on ground, they will definitely tell you that it was not Congress's failure this time. Congress has given a very good fight in Assam. And on 2nd May, I am hoping that Congress will make it. But
so then what's the reason then? Naresh, you're saying something a little confusing. You're saying that even if the Congress loses, it won't be its failure. What does that mean? Then why would you lose?
I think we are very hopeful that the kind of campaign that Congress party ran over there, Congress party senior leadership, Congress party state leadership, without having a pan-state face, still all the other leaders like Sushmita Dev, Gaurav Gogoi, etc., the people who were leading the campaign in different various parts where they belong to or wherever they were supposed to, they were assigned by the party.
Right.
They ran a very beautiful campaign. And this was not acknowledged just by the Congress party's own cadre. It was acknowledged by people at large in Assam and more so by BJP itself. I have also been speaking to a lot of BJP leaders. BJP leaders have been speaking to me and BJP people speak to us. So the campaign had no flaws whatsoever. But yes, when elections are run, BJP is a formidable political party. BJP has vast amount of resources, but Congress this time ran the best campaign probably in the history of Assam by admission of every person involved in electoral process in Assam.
Okay.
No, while Mr. Arora, that may be a just assessment, but in elections, you fight the elections to win them. You can't say that I ran a beautiful and lovely campaign but still lost.
Moral
Sagarika
victory.
Ghosh, what does this say? What will this say?
This could be like Gujarat, moral victory.
If these results or exit poll results were to be true on the 2nd of May, what does this say or speak about the Congress party? Or will the impact of COVID, sadly, I mean, it's not right to be talking politics at the time of a pandemic, but do you think that the handling of COVID will have a totally different impact? Do remember that when Assam polled, the COVID situation was not that bad.
Oh,
In
COVID
fact-
situation was similar to what it was at that time. It was same what it is today, Sanket. Only that BJP tried to snub it over there with the de facto CM over there telling that there's no COVID and no masks are supposed to be worn. And today they are.
Yeah, but then by then Assam had polled.
No, Assam was polling. Assam was still polling. Assam polled in 3 phases, as you know. Assam was polling, and all those statements came within those polling phases also.
Okay, Sagarika, before I come to you, one more. Mr. PKD Nambiar is back with us. I'll come back to you, Ms. Ghosh. Just one moment. Mr. Nambiar, the BJP in some of these polls is within striking distance of forming a government, and then some polls show that you played the role of a formidable opponent, that you were very close to have a shot at power but could not go past the halfway mark or the majority mark. Your assessment on these initial exit poll results?
175 plus seats is what BJP is going to win in West Bengal. Assam is going to be in. It's going to be a huge victory for BJP as a political party. The election is going to be. Tamil Nadu, definitely, DMK, according to me, will be doing pretty bad, and DMK will come pretty much as a winner. There is no doubt, according to me. And as far as the Kerala is concerned, it's going to be the UDF. So if
Kerala, you are saying it will be UDF, not LDF.
It will be UDF.
Okay, interesting.
UDF.
That a pro-BJP analyst is
I'm
batting for the Congress.
I'm not
You're
telling
now
you anything.
speaking as someone from Kerala, is it? Okay.
I'm
Let's just recap. Hold on. We need to. Remember, this is a show of a poll of exit polls. So we must recap what the numbers are telling us at the moment, and these at the moment are the different averages that are coming up. They're on the screen as well. The averages are suggesting it's the TMC, which has got an edge in West Bengal, 156 to the BJP's 121. It's still a remarkable performance by the BJP. It's a DMK landslide in Tamil Nadu, as many pollsters had predicted, 171 to the ADMK's 58. In Assam, it is still the BJP or the NDA at 76, the Congress at 49. Puducherry, the NRC, which is the rival Congress party, is at 18, and the Congress is at 12. And Kerala, it is still with the edge to the LDF. But the challenge here is going to be, Kakoli Ghosh, Dastidar is with us. The challenge, Kakoli Ghosh, will be that not only do you need to win in this particular climate of this particular BJP, it's not enough just for Mamata Banerjee to win, but you have to win big. You need to have that buffer of 20, 30 extra seats. Otherwise, there could be another Madhya Pradesh-like situation. So is that a worry? Because you've already had a pretty sizable exodus from your ranks before the elections, and that's a threat that you might possibly face afterwards if the margin is tight.
Yes, I agree with you that India is facing this challenge of horse trading introduced by the Bharatiya Janata Party, and we've seen it in, like you said, in Madhya Pradesh, we've seen it in Goa, we've seen it in Manipur. Now, I would like to tell you that according to our calculation, the Bharatiya Janata Party will not cross the 100 marks, and ours, the total number is going to be definitely more than 170, 180. So there is a clear difference of the number of seats between the two parties. And of course, we have other parties also in the fray. So comfortably, Mamata Banerjee is forming the government for the third time in West Bengal.
So you're not worried about Khela Hobe? There could be a Khela Hobe after the results. There may have been one before. There will be one Khela Hobe after.
Khela Hobe is our slogan, and it means that yes, we are in the field and we have performed well. But this Khela Hobe is not the slogan of Bharatiya Janata Party, who were trying to buy votes, misleading people by fake news. So they have no teeth within the masses, and they are not going to be able to break the force that comes back after winning the election to form the government.
Okay, let's just go to N. Ram for a second, Sanket, because Mr. Ram, to this point of the kind of national implication of this election, stakes already high, but now with the pandemic, the fact that it's crucial for the BJP to pull off particularly a victory in West Bengal. Though the elections themselves may not have been a referendum on the handling of the pandemic, because, you know, it was in the final phases of the election when the pandemic really started to spark. But symbolically, politically, how crucial would it be for them now to win West Bengal? And what are the implications if they don't?
I think it'll be a very big blow, Vasu, if they do not win West Bengal. Of course, everybody knows they've raised their game and they put everything into it. The RSS has been very active, and no doubting that. But if they fail to win, and despite all the state machinery, the Indian state machinery bearing down on TMC in West Bengal, if Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and a party bring this off, that'll be a big blow to the BJP. But don't forget Tamil Nadu, major state, where they put a lot into it. The polls have shown that the DMK would have done better not to go with the BJP, not going with the BJP. All the opinion poll findings suggested that, brought that out. So it'll be, after West Bengal, it'll be a very big blow. Even though the BJP is a very junior partner here, they've been in the driver's seat, dictating the play.
Right.
So far AIDMK is concerned, and I think these numbers they're going to be way above some of the numbers I see there. I have the channel on there diagonally across. I'm watching it from here.
Yes.
And because I can't see it on this Skype.
Right.
So yes, I think it'll be a very big win for the DMK and the DMK alliance. And Vasu, the buffer you spoke about is guaranteed in Tamil Nadu. DMK is not a party that tends to lose to defections, but the buffer is there and be a huge buffer for the DMK as well as the allies.
Mr. Ram, that has pretty much been the Tamil Nadu story, no? That's pretty much been the Tamil Nadu story. It's always a swing, one way or the other, like massive swing.
Well, Jayalalitha defied that last time.
She defied that. Agreed.
That was a big. But Sanket, I think we have with us Apsara Reddy also.
Yes, and Mr. Sarvanan,
of the
spokesperson
ADMK.
of the DMK. Yeah.
And Sarvanan. Yeah. So Apsara Reddy, to the point Enram was making, and this again gives you a sense of how fragmented the country is, that in a place like West Bengal, the Modi brand has huge traction, the BJP has huge traction. But in Tamil Nadu, if you were to believe the results of these exit polls, is that a regret that you have, that you tied up with the BJP? That could have actually been a factor that weighed you down?
Not at all. If I believe the exit polls, as you rightly said, I don't think the exit polls have ever got Tamil Nadu right. Even in 2016, all the exit polls but one got Tamil Nadu wrong. I feel this time BJP and AIDMK on a very strong wicket, because BJP has done a lot of good work in terms of infrastructure, in terms of a lot of aid to the states. And I don't think the Tamil sentiment really looks at Modi as a hate figure anymore. And I think the work that Mr. Edappadi Palaniswamy has done, the anti-incumbency is at an all-time low. I think he's performed very well as a chief minister for the last 4 years. People do want a good government to continue, and I think we have a track record to go by. And people go with strong leaders and a track record. I don't think people really want to take a chance with the DMK, which hasn't put any runs on the table, even as an opposition party for the last 10 years. They've come back only from a hiatus only before the election.
Mr. Sarvanan is smiling through this. Mr. Sarvanan, your response?
He can't control his. Sarvanan.
Yeah, see, we all know that Tamil Nadu is a state which changes the party in power every 5 years, and 2016 was an exception. But we lost it by a thin, very, very thin margin due to several factors. Now, 10 years of rule, and people of Tamil Nadu are bored. They want a change. The way the ADMK and BJP ruined the state. There is nothing. There were no new infrastructural projects. There was no industrial growth. Nothing had happened in the state of Tamil Nadu. They said we are being very pally-pally with the BJP. They said they are being pally-pally with the BJP so that they can bring in a lot of schemes for the people of Tamil Nadu. The BJP did not even bother to give us the for the cyclones. They didn't even bother to give the amount, what we demanded. And now, to rub salt into the wound, the chief minister demanded 20 lakh vaccines. They said 2 lakh vaccines. And now what had happened? 35 metric tons of oxygen has been diverted from the state of Tamil Nadu, where Tamil Nadu is one of the worst affected states in the COVID situation. So people of Tamil Nadu are aware of what's this unholy alliance. ADMK is forced to support the BJP because they have a lot of cases against them, corruption cases. That is the reason. There is no other reason.
I think Apsara wants to respond. Yes, Apsara.
I think it's not fair to say that there has not been good governance. I think be it Corona, be it the cyclone, if you look at all the reportage across the press, I think the AIDMK has performed fantastically during the last 4 years. Even during about industrial development, whether it's bike taxis of Ola or whether it's Amazon manufacturing unit or Pegatron, which is an iPhone manufacturer, we've gotten investment. And during the Corona year, we've got a plus 2% GDP, which has performed much better than the national average. So DMK cannot talk about corruption. DMK is the party and the government which has been dissolved for corruption by the Sarkaria Commission.
Okay. Just a second. I have to say...
No.
Sharvanan, just a second. Sharvanan, hold on.
Put wrong facts.
Hold on. You can rebut in a second.
Facing a corruption charge.
Okay, you can rebut in a second, but I have to say, having gone there, that I think it's fair to say that there wasn't this kind of widespread anger against the EPS government, and to his credit, EPS did manage to hold the entire ship together, because Sanket, if you remember, there was this constant speculation that the government might collapse at any time.
Correct.
Right? There was so much factionalism. But somehow EPS and OPS buried the hatchet, and he did steer the ship through some pretty stormy waters. As Apsara mentioned, there were multiple cyclones, there was the pandemic, there was a crippling drought in 2017. But at the end of the day, 10 years is 10 years. So, there will be anti-incumbency and there will be a backlash. But also, Sarvanan, one of the things that you must also acknowledge is that when you say that, you're winning with this huge number, how much of it is because of Stalin and the desire to see him, or also how much of it is because of Prashant Kishore and the manner in which he's managed the Stalin campaign, just as he's doing in West Bengal?
Yeah.
Would you still be in such a position without having, these political strategists in your back room?
Yeah. See, I want to answer 2 points, Srinivas. In the first one, you are saying that Mr. Edappadi Palaniswamy had steered the ship. That is because of the BJP. That is because of the invisible hand of the BJP, which was steering him. He was able to continue for the last 4 years. And because of that, all the policies that has been implemented in Uttar Pradesh has been implemented in the state of Tamil Nadu. No, it's not. It's a bad thing. You want to follow the Uttar Pradesh model. Oh my God.
What is the UP model, Mr.
I'm not saying UP model.
Can you define this? What UP model has been followed in Tamil Nadu?
See, all the policies of the central government, from NEET to imposition of Hindi, sending everybody from there to here, having trying to subjugate the working in the industries here, from giving works. They opened TNPSC, Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, to people from North India. If DMK was here, it would not have happened. With so much of unemployment, this is what we have been opposing so long. This is the first point.
Okay, I think one moment. Yeah. We've discussed Tamil Nadu, but very briefly, I think, Vasu, we should get in some other states also.
Yes.
No. Just let me finish this. Let me finish this.
Sure.
Yeah, you were talking about the strategist. See, in 2019, we had a sweep. We had 39 seats. That is because of our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin. Just because somebody is coming in and advising us on how to campaign or how to manage the digital
Mr.
era
Sarvanan, the dynamics of a Lok Sabha election and a state election are very different.
It doesn't take away the charisma and the hard work put up by our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin. People of Tamil Nadu know what to do. 39 seats.
Okay, Mr. Nambiar wants to come in.
Okay.
Mr. Nambiar, any comment on, since you are the closest to the BJP right now?
He's getting I think he's getting overexcited. So you should be knowing that you have a family party which is running the state from the last 50 years. Fathers, transcend, and even I don't know how many.
Okay. Once again, Mr. Sharvanan, you have to let Mr. Sharvanan. You have to allow others to speak. You have to allow others to speak.
It will be very unfair, Vasu, that one of the largest states in this country, UP, which is very well managed. In fact, till now, I mean,
well managed.
Maybe in the last 2 weeks, it was supposed to be handling the COVID situation in the country much better than anybody else. In the last 2 weeks, I'm not talking about it.
No, Nambiar, that's...
So I think
Mr. Nambiar, that can be your assessment, but that cannot be a fact.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Nambiar, let me ask you this, that that, you know, and I was making this point earlier, that in a sense these polls reflect the very fragmented nature of the country. India has always been fairly divided in terms of political preferences. But does this reflect how acute that division has become, that you get huge traction for the BJP and for Mr. Modi in West Bengal, new areas you're entering into, Assam of course, but that very brand and that very image and that same party can actually be a liability in the south, particularly in places like Tamil Nadu and Kerala?
So, I will not be saying that it is 100% correct, but yes, there is definitely the Dravidian party's stronghold. That is a very, very hardcore political parties like an AA, DMK. They are very, very deep-rooted parties. So, the acceptance to the Hindi, predominantly the BJP in Tamil Nadu is still considered as a Hindi or a North India-based party. That is been, but then there is a huge acceptance over the last few years. Large number of traction towards a new leadership was coming in Tamil Nadu. You have seen it, and I have seen when you yourself was covering it extensively in Tamil Nadu, speaking in Tamil. But I would say that there is a huge change which has taken place, especially in the Coimbatore belt and Kanyakumari belt. There is and BJP per se is highly active party across the south. In Kerala, for an example, last time 15% was there for the BJP. So it's not like that BJP is not a relevant party. Yes, the kind of traction what it gets in other places is not still to be given in a place like Tamil Nadu.
Okay, Mr. Nambiar, we seem to be having some trouble with your audio connection. Let me quickly get this fixed and then we'll come back to you so that we can understand what you're saying better, and also a comment on your home state, Kerala, and why you feel, and I haven't forgotten, why you feel that the UDF will win and not the LDF, contrary to what these polls are saying. I'm going to come back to you. We also have Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson of the Congress party, with us, and Sagarika Ghosh continues to be with us. Ms. Ghosh, let me come to you now. You've heard what is being said in the context of the DMK. We've heard what is being said in the context of BJP and its popularity and growth, hopefully, in West Bengal versus their chances of growth in Tamil Nadu. Your assessment on this personality, the personality of Narendra Modi and the performance of
Sanket, I would like to say that over the last weeks, whether it's the farmers' agitation, whether it's price rise, whether it's the ferocious second wave of COVID, there has been a significant loss of moral capital that this government has experienced. I think moral capital has drained away from the government and to an extent from the Prime Minister. But political capital has not. So there's a disjunction between moral capital and political capital. As far as political capital is concerned, the Prime Minister is still seen, if these polls are right, as trustworthy, as bankable, and is winning. I mean, if the BJP is ahead in Bengal, if it pulls off Assam, if it's increases its vote share in Kerala, if it wins in Puducherry, then I think we're looking at this disjunction between moral capital and political capital. It's also about our democracy. Our democracy is declining, as every think tank is saying, in terms of muzzling of dissent, in terms of muzzling of opposition. But our rituals of elections seem to be going on in a parallel universe. So I think the personality of Mr. Narendra Modi on the campaign trail continues to draw political capital, even though I would say, and this is, my reading of the situation as it has been, particularly now, and as you were pointing out, Vikram, that, I beg your pardon, in fact, Sanket, that actually the COVID second wave hit after the polls had closed in the other states except West Bengal.
That's true.
All the polls closed on 6th of April, but the second wave actually hit in the middle of April. So, the effect of this killer, this catastrophe.
No, but then will there be an effect? Because, Ms. Ghosh, the thing is that even, and I know this from sources within the BJP, that there was a very, very strong resentment in the West Bengal BJP unit when they learnt that the Prime Minister is not coming. and he's going to be occupied. Remember when he cancelled his Kolkata rally?
Yes.
And then he was forced in a way by the unit to have a virtual rally.
Because, you know,
No,
Sanket...
I saw one of the Prime Minister's rallies, which he held. They were jam-packed. It was, there's no doubt that there is a personality cult of Mr. Modi that is there in Bengal. And frankly, I was quite surprised to see it because, as I said, the BJP has been an outlier in Bengal for decades. So to see this kind of outpouring for the BJP was really a surprise.
Yeah.
And whichever way you look at it, however the results are, I think, again, the rise of the BJP, whether it wins or not, is very significant in Bengal. And the popularity of the Prime Minister continues to be there on the campaign trail. However, I would say...
Anyway, I think on the point that you were making, Sanket, about the impact on the pandemic, you were there as well in West Bengal, I was there. Frankly, even when it was spiking, people didn't really care.
Yes.
And I've interviewed people, Trinamool supporters, who said that there is no coronavirus here, the BJP has brought the virus, and if you say, isn't there a risk to your life? Well, we are ready to die. We will die for Didi. And you hear the similar sentiment in the BJP rallies as well. So I don't think it was really about so much the Prime Minister curtailing his campaign because of the impact it was having in West Bengal, but because of the optics it was sending everywhere else.
Very true.
Especially after that last rally where he said, I can see thousands of people before me when the virus was going through the roof.
But then he was forced by his unit, and this is also a fact, that on the ground, had he not campaigned, it would have been, there was a huge pressure on the Prime Minister's office to at least have some sort of a virtual campaign.
So there was in that sense, Sagrika, just a second. So in that sense, there was a disconnect between the way that the West Bengal voter was viewing the campaign and the pandemic, and the way that it was being viewed.
Let's put that to Adil Bopare.
Yes.
Adil, do you feel the handling of the COVID virus, and again, it has to be mentioned over here that most of the states polled and finished polling on the 6th of April when the cases had just started to spike. It's only Bengal where you see the spike happening and the polling process also happening. Do you think that this will have an impact on polling?
Well, Sanketji, firstly, I must compliment your channel vis-a-vis all other media channels in coming to the aid of all those who are needy in the middle of this crisis. I think this is a national emergency, and NDTV certainly has played a very pivotal role in coming to the rescue of people when there has been a governance collapse. Having said this, and I must put this out, I'm coming from a cremation ground. It doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter what the exit polls indicate today, because India is losing. India is losing this battle, this war against COVID. And we're not in this kind of politics. For the Congress party, politics is a medium to help people, to empower people. We don't do politics over dead bodies like the Bharatiya Janata Party. So regardless of what the outcome is, the BJP's politics is ruining India's very core. Today there is a shortage of oxygen. Today there is a shortage of antiviral drugs. Today people are gasping for oxygen, they're losing their lives. And the Bharatiya Janata Party is still concerned and bothered about elections.
Adil, just hold on a second. I mean, if that is your argument that the BJP is ruining India, the fact is that the BJP is in a position to do good or harm or whatever it is because they keep winning elections. And the Congress party doesn't.
Well,
I mean, either you're not in the game at all, like in West Bengal, you're barely in the game, or like in Assam, again, you might fall short. Kerala, you might again fall short. So,
well, Srinivasanji, as far as Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry is concerned, I think we're firmly in the saddle and we're poised to form the government in these states. Certainly, West Bengal is a difficult election, there's no doubt about that. But as far as Assam is concerned, the ambivalence of the Bharatiya Janata Party's politics over CEA, the incompetency of the Chief Minister, all this is not showing in the exit polls. But let me assure you, and there was a gentleman who was there, I'm forgetting his name, who was there in Assam, who was there in Guwahati, covering the elections very closely. They will tell you that there is unprecedented anger against Sonowal and the Bharatiya Janata Party's hypocritical politics. Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, the DMK is virtually the B team of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Okay,
and they've been imposing their ideology. So there will be again a backlash, and the DMK Congress alliance will come to power. And I disagree.
Okay, the exits are not showing that. You can dispute the exits. The exits are, well, they're certainly showing DMK sweep in Tamil Nadu, but they're showing the BJP is still ahead in Assam. Interestingly, also just coming back to the exits for a second, Sanket, that at the moment, we do not seem to have yet the India Today Axis polls for Tamil Nadu and for West Bengal. So, they are still holding back on that.
Yeah, it will be their showstopper.
Yes. So,
waiting for
Pradeep Gupta and team are holding back on that.
Absolutely, they are holding back.
They have
given
the
results.
They
but
have
Vasu, you know, one question that I wanted to ask
They've given a number
Mr.
for Kerala and they've given a number for Assam, but they have not at the moment done it for
So, for two big
West
states,
Bengal,
they've
but
held back their numbers.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Interesting though, I just want to say that look at the numbers that they've given for the LDF in Kerala. This is India Today Axis. They're saying it's a 104 to 120 for the LDF and
Which
only
is massive.
20 to 36 for the UDF. So, that is almost an improvement over last time.
Yeah.
That's a huge, that's a sweep for Pinarayi Vijayan. But anyway, these are
Yeah, you know,
Sorry, go ahead,
Vasu, that
Sanket.
one point that I wanted to ask Mr. Boparai. See, the thing is that even in Bihar, the Congress party was accused of not having a good strike rate. See, the RJD performed well on the seats that they got, whereas the Congress party bargained for 70 and did not perform as well. This time around in Tamil Nadu, the Congress party, I think, is contesting on 25. Most of your alliance partners often complain that the Congress has a very poor strike rate and that pulls us or weighs us down. Do you see that as a cause of worry even in these elections, in the context of Assam also?
Bihar was a different kettle of fish. You must not forget that Mr. Owaisi did mar the Congress party's fortunes in the Seemanchal area by playing the B team, and it was advantage JDU and the Bharatiya Janata Party. So in that kind of a situation where you have a forefront, four elements entering the fray, certainly the advantage would have gone to the BJP and their alliance partner. This is not the case in Tamil Nadu, and this is neither going to be the case in Assam, where there is a direct competition.
I am talking about strike rate, Mr. Boparai, because these dynamics will be at play for every political party. No?
Well, if you extrapolate Bihar as an example, I don't see that repeating. Like I said, Mr. Owaisi was a factor here. That factor is not here in Tamil Nadu nor in Assam.
Okay,
so
let's just...
Bihar, like I said, was a different situation.
All right, let's just get Mr. Ram back in, and Ram is still with us. And Ram, we were talking earlier about what these elections mean about the fact that Mr. Modi remains a popular leader, perhaps not in some parts of the country, but certainly in others. It's still enough to be a powerful mobilizing force for the BJP, despite upheavals like the pandemic and so on. I wanted to get your take on what also these elections will say about Hindutva and the kind of aggressive Hindutva that we've seen the BJP now instrumentalizing in election after election. Modi 1.0 was a mix of welfarism and Hindutva. This is now Modi 2.0, much more about just outright, mobilization on those grounds. How do you see that? Because they did try it in Tamil Nadu. There was the Vetrivel Yatra in Tamil Nadu. There was an attempt to stir the love jihad pot in Kerala. And of course, in Bengal, it's an out-and-out Hindutva-centric campaign. But different responses in different parts of the country.
Yeah, before I address that, I just want, the role of NDTV in this second wave was lauded. I want to add my praise to that. In fact, I was riveted by some of your coverage. And when, at the height of desperation, there were hospitals and doctors were calling you, saying we have oxygen for 3 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. That was when you saw what a powerful news television channel could do. Not that you're angling for this, but I wanted to place this on record. Keep it up. This is the only channel I watch, the only Indian channel I watch. Occasionally the BBC, etc. Because I think I owe it to all our listeners to say this because it was already mentioned. Now, on Hindutva, I think there are limits to Hindutva. I really believe that. Hindutva has peaked. We can't write it off yet. The hold of Hindutva politically, Sagarika made this point between moral capital and political capital. Hindutva still commands a lot of political capital because as the experience of many countries has shown over history and modern history, majoritarianism can be used to mobilize people for electoral victories of a huge, huge shows of force or strength. But I think there are limits to Hindutva, and the majority of the Hindus in the I'm totally opposed to Hindutva. Let me place it on the table. Hindutva is a toxic ideology. Hindutva is anti-constitutional. Hindutva goes against the preamble of the Indian Constitution, and it shouldn't have been allowed to get this far at all, except for the collusion or ineptness of many institutions. Having said that, I would say Hindutva is still strong, but it has its limits. We don't know quite when it will start to go down.
Okay.
But I hope that it has started.
Okay. All right. I think we have. Is Mr. Nambiar still with us, or?
Yeah.
Yes. You wanted to respond to that on Hindutva.
One is that I think, with all due respect to Mr. Ram, that I think the lecture what you give just for the few minutes about your Hindutva hatred towards the Hindutva, and how about in the same breath, why don't you even also give your opinion about what is the minority appeasement in the last 70 years this country had seen all across, including the West Bengal election quite recently? Why don't you just throw some light on that particular stuff as well, sir? You have a major issue with the Hindutva ideology, and you very, very openly saying that the word Hindutva frightens you. Why don't you also just tell us what is the kind of minority appeasement politics which has been taking place across the country? In Kerala, when Muslim League, the one party which has got a name attached to it with a religion, is aligned with UDF, you don't have any problem. You have no problem when Mamata Banerjee is having collided with the communal forces and doing only a minority politics. You don't have any issue.
Mr. Nambiar. Okay. Let's get a quick.
Mr. Ram.
Let's get a quick, very quick. Okay, Mr. Nambiar, just a second. Let's get a quick response because we have to now start wrapping up. We have very little time on the show left.
I condemn communalism and religious fundamentalism, whether it is done in the name of the majority or the minority. I strongly condemn.
Okay.
Muslim, Islamist extremism.
All right, he has responded now. If you could just quickly, because Sanket, I think we have very few moments left on the show. The fact is that whoever is coming to power in these states is going to have a huge challenge of fighting the virus, regardless of political ideology. And let's just get quick comments on that, I think, from everybody. Kakuli Ghosh Dastidar, you're with us. West Bengal, I mean, cases spiking through the roof. And the health infrastructure, to be honest, has not been great. I don't know, how much has been really added in the past even year. So big challenge. In the event you come back.
It is a challenge for the whole country. The country did not have the infrastructure, and sadly, Prime Minister or the Health Minister or the whole ministry, they were not interested.
No, but just West Bengal, Prime Minister. No, but as far as you are concerned.
Instead of targeting the state, they should have spent more time. They should not have boarded the election commission to have this in 8 phases. But before that, before answering your question, I want to strongly condemn the gentleman's opinion when he just spoke that Mamata Banerjee, she lines up and sides with communal forces. She doesn't. It is the Hindutva agenda of polarization which is being sent through fake news to India and Bengal. Trying to polarize the board. This is not acceptable in the constitution. The gentleman should respect the constitution. And we have enough infrastructure. Even today, only 46% of our hospital board beds are filled. We have enough oxygen and we have enough infrastructure, but the vaccine was not given to us by the central government in spite of Chief Minister writing in the month of February. So
let's not.
The onus is on the central government.
Let's
kill the people of West Bengal.
Let's be careful when we say we're in a good position, because we've seen how quickly cities and states get overwhelmed. Saravanan, very quickly, what is in the event you win, this will be a big challenge for you. COVID.
Definitely. Tackling COVID is going to be a biggest challenge. And our leader, Mr. NK Stalin, is also already chalked out what he's going to do to power. And another biggest challenge would be dwindling finances.
Right.
The DMK government has taken away all the money, useless 10. So
Right.
that is going to be another huge challenge, but we will be able to successfully overcome them.
Okay, Mr. Nambiar, the fact is that the leaders of the BJP, all parties, but BJP, I'm asking you because of BJP, campaigning right till the bitter end, even as the virus was rising. Looking back now, you think mistake?
We are a country of contradictions. I think while we were all talking about the election rallies, do you know that the 2 weeks before, the Delhi markets, Delhi shopping malls were nothing less than a Kumbh Mela. Every market, from a Lajpat Nagar market to a Sarojini
No, I was
Nagar
asking
market,
about the
all
rallies.
places. So I'm absolutely. It really gives so much of pain when on the one side you see large political rallies are taking place. On the other side, people are gasping for oxygen. They are just begging for an oxygen from one after another places.
All right.
It does matter. But I just wanted to ask.
Well, it's a huge challenge. We're out of time, and let's see how all the parties tackle it. I'm really sorry we've had to wrap up, but we will continue to focus, obviously, on the exits and in the countdown to May 2nd. But at the moment, just to summarize what the exit polls at the moment are telling you, it is an edge to the Mamata Banerjee Trinamool Congress combination in West Bengal. It's a DMK sweep in Tamil Nadu. The BJP is holding Assam, and Pinarayi Vijayan is holding on in Kerala. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.